Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, we are back. It is Saturday Night Music, and as this was coming up, Oligarchy can yell at me and scold me because I just realized we may have to put something on him. I did not create a clip of your new song now, so I will haze
All
myself.
right.
I will haze myself later, but I will let you play it. So hopefully you got something that you can key up for us, a little taste bit here. But again, we have with us Oligarchy Withers. I'm going to tell you folks, I've listened to his song now. It's got a new album getting ready to drop. I think it's February 17th, if I'm remembering the date right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's correct.
And it's called Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine. And we were talking before the show, and it made perfect sense. Look at that. Crazy Aunt Rose is there. And it made perfect sense when I was listening to this that it sounded like if Anne Rice and Beethoven wrote an album. It's got a real like dark, a little bit of softness like that. I don't know how to go listen to the shit. Like that's the best way I can say it. Oligarchy can explain it way better than I can. I'm lucky I can play the radio, but we'll leave it at that. But brother, welcome to the bar.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm gonna post this link to the song real quick here in the chat.
There we go. This is
So that way, anyone who's so inclined can just go.
So this is our chat. So what I'll do is I'll copy that.
Perfect.
That you sent me that, and I'm going to put it here in our live chat. And what I'll also do, folks, is when we are done with tonight's show, I will put this also in the show notes. So anyone who's looking to take a listen to it can jump on there and check it out. But those of you that are listening to us live after the show's over, I don't want you to listen to it during the show. You got to listen to it after the show. We'll have the opportunity to jump on here and check this out. So, and I got to tell you, for those of you that are watching this live with me, Oligarchy got one hell of an apartment here. I mean,
it's not bad. I can't complain.
Look, I mean, that I'm looking at is I'm a horrible person. It's still daylight out there. I'm checking out the view out. Now you're downtown Portland.
Oh yeah. I'm right near Pioneer Square. I think this is the third tallest building in the city. I got a thing for heights. I really like tall buildings. Find them kind of inspiring, especially ones with like crazy views. And the curtains are obviously down a bit, but it's pretty nice to wake up to most days.
Now, how long have you been in Portland?
I've been here just over 1 year. Prior to that, I was basically down in Hollywood for about a decade.
So we definitely got some stuff to talk about from Idaho to Hollywood to Portland. I mean,
yeah,
you've been a little bit of everywhere. So let's go ahead and do our house cleaning. Make sure the house is in order before we get too deep into this. Now I've teased you with a little bit of what Oligarchy's got going on here. First thing first, as always, folks, sticker and a cause. You got something going on. You've got something you're trying to support, whether it be a band, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a charitable organization, anything and everything that you can think of. You send me a sticker. We'll talk about it live here on the air. We did get a great, amazing gift. Came right out of Baltimore. And you know me, I'm a big homer. If it comes out of Baltimore, in my opinion, it is the greatest thing ever made. There's nothing better than that. I love my Baltimore stuff. So Royal Beard in Maine sent me a can of Beard Balm, and I'm gonna have to ask Oligarchy here in a minute because he's got pretty amazing hair. Doesn't have a beard, but he's got pretty amazing hair.
Yeah, no beard, but good hair.
He's got good hair. We'll have to see if he has to do the same thing because I got a good beard, so I have to go deep into the beard game. And they sent me this, and what I liked. First things I noticed was for a Beard Balm, they're normally 2.5 ounce cans. This is a 3.5 ounce can, and all the ingredients I can read. There's nothing in here that is in a chemical form that I'm going, nope, don't have a degree in chemistry. Can't read that. Shea butter, beeswax, mango butter. So I can read all these things. And my wife gave it the best compliment she could have. She smelled it and she goes, it reminded her of when we were on our honeymoon and the place we stayed at. So can't say, can't give a better compliment than that. So check out Royal Beard and Mane Grooming. They're on Instagram. They have a website, and we thank them for this opportunity, this gift. And I put it on my beard today. I think it's looking pretty good. Might have to go
Yeah,
with
I
it.
think so too.
Thank you. You know, good
Yeah,
beard says a lot.
I wish I could grow a beard. I have
I don't know. You got a little
not there
scruff.
yet.
You got a
I've
little
got a little
scruff going.
scruff, but it's getting more consistent, but it's not there yet, you know.
Are you gonna? Do you want to go the full beard? Do you want to do the full beard game?
I think eventually, you know, I think maybe a few more years of the scruff, and then I'm gonna head towards that like Jared Leto type.
No.
Growing the
Oh, you
beard.
want to go the Jared Leto?
Maybe not the super long one, but you know, split the difference kind of.
All right. I mean, I was curious how far you would be willing to go with it, you know, and that tells you a difference in generations. You say the Jared Leto, I'm thinking the Letterman, and do you know who Letterman is?
David Letterman.
Yep.
Okay. You're talking that one.
Yeah, I did. What reminded me of?
Formidable beard.
I watched one of the funniest movies I've watched. You're a movie guy.
Yeah, depends on the movie, but yeah.
Have you watched on Netflix Between Two Ferns?
No, but I remember seeing that.
You've
What's
seen
that
probably
about?
so that's with Zach Galifianakis going cross country to do his talk show that is supposed to be on a public.
With David Letterman, right?
Well, he interviews Letterman at one point.
Okay.
And it's one of the funniest. I haven't laughed that hard in years at a movie. Like that's like if you just want a belly laugh, that's definitely a belly laugher. But you're already getting some fandage here, brother.
Oh yeah, I can't even tell. So
Crazy Aunt Rose wants to know what part of Idaho you're from.
I grew up in Twin Falls, super south, like 3 hours north of Salt Lake. Yeah.
Like, was there any so we talked about this a little bit, and we're going to just jump right into it, folks. So we kind of mentioned this when I mentioned about the whole Beethoven thing. So you taught yourself Beethoven at age 7.
Yeah, I mean that's an approximate thing. Memory's only so good.
Right.
It was
Either way,
very early age. Just kind of remember having this little really bad, shitty keyboard, and you know it started playing Fur Elise, and I was like, oh, you know, I love that. Just taught myself kind of by watching the little notes flash, you know, and then since then, always love Beethoven. Always tell people he's my favorite artist.
and I just watched the whole thing on him. Like I never realized because what's his last symphony? The
I don't know.
The ninth?
To be honest.
Is that the ninth?
It sounds like it could be definitely right, but to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what his last.
He was completely deaf by that point.
Which is one of the things I respect so much about him.
Like how do you know, that's just such a crazy thing to think about, writing music. And I think I've had a few artists on. I'm always curious of your process because I think all of us, no matter what you're good at, whatever you have a passion for, you have a process to it. And I don't care what that is, whether it be making breakfast in the morning or making music in the evening, you have a process to it. And I'm always curious. Crazy Aunt Rose says, cool. I went to high school in Chalice, have family in Salmon.
I don't. Yeah, I think that's more northern, but I don't think I've ever been there.
Well, yeah, we need Clay. Definitely should be sharing with Clay. I have to get you. See, there you go. We could get you with Clay, and Clay's like the most wicked drummer that I've ever heard.
That's hard thing to find, a good drummer.
Well, he's on that level that this guy's going to, like, working at the museum, or not museum, but the Museum of Drumming. That's what it was. I think that's what it was. But like all this crazy stuff. He's amazing. And that's his mom, Crazy Aunt Rose. So we love her. So you're growing up. Tell me about growing up as, like, were you a prodigy?
That's a dangerous word. I mean, I think I just worked really, really hard at what I loved, and what I did love was music, and that was my sole focus. I tend to be obsessive to an unhealthy degree about things I'm interested in, and so with music, that was definitely one of them. And that I can't say that hurt in becoming really good at it. Um, and the emotional connection is something that's necessary too. On some sort of soul level, I feel like that's my way of interacting with whatever the soul is, and it's just always spoken to me. Music has.
Now, so growing up, were you so when I think of musicians, there's the very traditional route, played in high school band, played in church bands, played in, that type of, you know, very fundamental music, I guess is probably
Right,
the best
right.
way to describe it.
That's a good way to say it.
Very fundamental, learning chops, learn your notes, move on from there. Were you that person, or were you on the other side of it and it was, um, I threw a couple pots up in the air and that shit sounded amazing. So I added that to my sound, almost, that level. What was it for you?
I think it was both to some degree. I started with self-taught completely piano, and then my parents kind of geared me into lessons, obviously seeing that I was so inclined. And to be honest, I did not care for lessons as a kid, mostly because I couldn't choose what I was playing. And most of the songs that you first learn, your chopsticks, your hot cross buns type material, is all major tonality, which I do not care for typically. Um, and so that really turned me off to the whole thing. But I still learned a lot, and it's because of that early ingrained teaching that probably the rest of it came more natural to me. And so then I stopped playing piano at like age 12, 13. I was just like, I don't, not having fun. And then I just got a guitar kind of randomly once Guitar Hero came out. Me and some friends thought it was really, yeah, it was really fun. And
That's
then
great.
my best friend won an actual guitar from a competition playing it, and I just was messing around with it one day, and he's like, you're better at this than I am. Like, maybe you should actually do that. And so my sister, God bless her, lent me probably 60, $70, and I got that, basic starter kit, shitty a guitar that makes your fingers literally bleed. But
Like
yeah, I
like
played it
three
like a Brian Adams
strings, a
song.
pickup, like a cheesy pickup on it.
Yeah, like the
What
strings are like yay high off the fretboard.
what was the Brian Adams song?
Well, I was just saying it's like the Brian Adams song where played it
Oh,
till his fingers bled. That was
yes.
me, like literally doing that.
Summer of '69.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know it. So were we making having like what kind of bands were you putting well, let me ask this question. It's probably a better question. Were you putting bands together in high
Yeah.
school, that kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Soon as I could. That was cool thing to do. All the girls like that. So got to
That's
do
what it was
that,
always
man.
about.
Yeah.
I,
And so just started putting together bands, climbing that garage band ladder to success in a small town. And then once I plateaued and I couldn't go any farther, um, I got into music school in Hollywood, and I'm like, I'm just gonna move there on a whim out of high school. Don't know a soul, just did it.
so what is small town Idaho uh plateau of success for a band? What does
Not
that
high.
look like?
It's not
Not
high. We were, I think, in a couple, like AP mentions, magazines, stuff like that. We opened for a lot of more established bands, which was cool.
okay.
Things like Motionless in White, of Machines, and that was really cool experience. Just
Nice.
especially being in high school, and listening to these bands and then getting the chance to actually perform with them, even if it's just opening, as they pass through town.
Dude, that's awesome. Motionless
Yeah,
in White. Nice.
Chris was such a nice guy, and I always remember that about him.
So we had somebody on recently just talking about the small town piece, and she's actually not far from you in Seattle, and was telling us that she played in some band or some small bar. It was like the local. This is really the only place you can play, and she was like, my parents followed me there. Like, was it that kind of thing? She was like, her parents followed her to keep her safe. And then when it was over, like a week later, somebody in that, it was like a biker bar. Somebody in that bar got stabbed like a week later.
I avoided stabbings, thankfully. However, I think my first show, like I rented out an American Legion. Oh no, and then the old folks home. Literally, we rented out like a senior home because this is the only place to bring people, and and then I remember trashing my parents' rental one time. We had glow in the dark paint and finger painted the entire rental, and then somehow they came by and they saw it, and they were of course livid, and they're like, "We'll be right back. I don't know what you're gonna do to fix this, but it better be fixed." And so we found somehow white paint from the original house and finger painted back over
Oh
everything,
shit.
and yeah, stuff
Oh
like
shit.
that.
Well, now what level of music are we playing in the nursing home? Is this like, are we at
Oh,
Guar or are we at like, uh, or at like, I don't know, what's it? But like, what? I fuck it, I can't think of a band right now. But like, what level of music are we at? Like, what style?
man, not good. This is like, when you're first first experimenting with being in a band and you have no idea what you're doing. You're playing with horrible equipment. You know, just terrible. It was probably, yeah, like really bad post-hardcore Metallica type stuff. I think we
Okay,
even covered the cover of Turn the Page that Metallica covers.
not so you were doing covers of covers.
Exactly. So that gives you an idea of. But within a year or two, I was in the more popular, like the band in town that was like more popular, and so rising up.
So was just the one band in high school, or was this like,
Oh no, no,
oh
there was
no?
probably 10 to 12. At some, I was the kid that was always in like as many as possible. Like at some points, I'd be in three or four. And
So if they were starting a band, you had to get a phone call. You were like, well, if you're gonna
yeah, I
do
was.
this, you better call Oligarchy and ask him what the deal is.
Well, I just, I tried to. I was like, this is what I want to do. I better take it serious. I better learn as much as possible from as many different people as possible, especially people better than me. And that's how you learn to get better fast.
Now, do you have one of those towns like no one famous has ever come from, or
Nikki Six grew up.
no
And
shit?
yeah, Nikki Six is also from Twin Falls, Idaho. I think he might have
That's
been
awesome.
slightly outside, but he definitely spent part of his childhood there, if I remember from the dirt. Yeah,
So did you ever read that book?
I did,
The
and I was like, "Are you kidding me? What?" Like I
like
never thought I'd see the day.
like like that's a book that I don't even think I could talk about things that are in that book on a podcast that is completely what anything I want to say. Like
Right.
I think I would get banned right away.
Yeah, yeah. It's an entertaining book.
Oh, whoa, oh, Crazy Aunt Rose thinks
Oh,
you're
well,
sexy as
thank you.
hell.
Thank you.
Look at
Always
you there.
always a compliment.
Crazy Aunt Rose is right on it tonight.
All
You
right.
might want to watch yourself. She knows all about she knows that Idaho area, and she's in Utah now, I think. So you might want to watch yourself.
Oh yeah, I better.
Uh so we're in a band. You hit you plateaued in the area. You're covering nursing homes,
Yeah,
um, local rodeos, and anything else you can play at.
exactly.
Uh, it, so 19, it's off to Hollywood.
Yeah, big decision, big step. I mean, because especially no one leaves the town you're from. Towns like that is rare, and not knowing anyone especially is a big thing. I worked construction, to make some money, and you know worked out really well. So glad I did it. Best decision I probably ever made.
Now, what was that like? I mean, what some of these things you're telling me, like I could hear your songs playing as like you're packing your stuff into a hatchback car and waving goodbye to the family and heading off into Hollywood, and everybody's kind of going like, all right, you know,
Oh yeah, I mean, I got a lot of people that were like, "Oh man, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this." There's a lot of people like, "Oh, why that's a waste." My guitar teacher, who I studied with for just 6 months as prep to brush up on some theory before moving, he, it's such a sweet guy. Said it from the bottom of his heart. Was like, "Don't be like me. Don't make music your living." And I was like, I'm not going to
really,
listen. And he knew that too. He's like, I know you're not going to listen, but I feel like I have to tell you. I don't want you to end up, in my situation. Like, I respect that.
Keith, we all know you're going to get out of Kentucky, But he's in see, no, he's in just the opposite. My buddy Keith Burry's a comedian. He's in just the opposite. He lives in a town of like 7 people, and like 4 of them are like well, Loretta Lynn came from there.
You know
Another
what's crazy? I'm a distant, I think, relation of Loretta Lynn. I was born in Paducah, Kentucky.
I I served with the Marine from Paducah when I was in the
Right
Marine
on.
Corps.
Right
But yeah,
on.
so Keith, see that look, Keith, Kentucky is everywhere. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
that's crazy you say that. I think I was told she's like a distant relation
Well, where Keith lives, everyone is related to him.
of mine or something. All
Very
right, yeah.
different. It's
Could
very
could be.
different.
Could
Uh,
be.
and Crazy Aunt Rose wants to know, did you play? We're getting to this, Crazy Aunt Rose. You can't take over my interview. She wants to know, did you play any music while in LA?
I didn't do much else. Well, did some of the stuff, but music was always the purpose for being here.
Well, what were you doing as far as that? So you get it out to LA. Did you at least know someone out there that could
No
set
one.
you up with a place? What like
I didn't
how?
know a soul.
So this fascinates me because I was a guy. I tell people all the time. I left home at 17, graduated from high school, but I went into the Marine Corps. So I knew I had a meal, I had a roof, I had a paycheck, I had all those things. I have. I hear people like yourself that say, "Fuck it, I'm just going to pack up and go." That to me takes big nuts.
Well, I mean, it does, but it's also a bit like I had a school. I got into the Musicians Institute, and so like they, it's not like I was like having to completely fend for myself. They, helped me find an apartment with like 3 other students,
Okay.
but I didn't know anyone, and so it was very exciting. Terrifying in some ways, of course, but such a great experience.
Yes, Keith has more followers on Instagram than he has people in his town, and you guys may be related because he just told me that he's
Yeah,
also
there we
somewhat
go.
related. So
There we go.
you could have just found your cousin right here on the Above the Par
My
podcast.
long lost
Uh,
cuz, dude.
it could be, it could, and you guys could you could play music while he tells jokes. It could be like a whole thing, do a
I've
whole
always
show that.
respected stand-up comedians so much. Like I don't know how anyone that one takes huge nuts to me. Like standing up by yourself and putting yourself out there that way.
I mean, it's wild to me. So you're so you get out there now. Tell me about this school you went to because I don't know it. Like I
Oh,
know,
really?
yeah, I don't personally know it. I know if somebody tells me they're going to music school, I had an uncle that went to Berkeley, and it was a scholarship student to Berkeley. So when I think of music in California or music schools, that's what I know. Out here, there's Juilliard and things like that. So tell me about what that one is.
Musicians Institute is much more contemporary. I'd say like geared towards bands and rock and pop. But still a pretty highly regarded school. Probably not as much as Juilliard or Berkeley is, but a lot of famous people go there. A lot of famous people go through there trying to even recruit musicians. Like a lot of the guys I went to school with are doing great things. Ran into one dude, Matt Spatola. I think he's with Ti. Started with her. I'm sure he's doing all sorts of stuff now. And then, but some guy I went to guitar school who's within Faceless now, I think.
I don't
Super
know
amazing
Faces.
guitar player, tech death metal stuff.
Okay,
Super
gotcha.
super talented guy. Yeah, pretty much everyone I went to guitar school there with was great. Like so
So
many guys that can play circles around me.
for yourself, then it was that school was to hone your craft
Mhm.
playing guitar.
And to get to the next step in bands, that was the ultimate thing. Was I wanted to find the next level of band. I wanted to see where I could go from there because I'd outgrown everything back home.
So how long were you with them?
The school,
Yeah.
I think it was about a 2.5 to 3 year program. I was probably there about 2 years, and then I actually got my offer to go on my first tour before graduation, and all my teachers were like, "Oh yeah, you can go and come back and graduate." And when I came back, they didn't let me graduate. Long story short, so I never actually graduated, but I got to play original music in 30 states, and that was a lot more than most kids that were going there were doing.
I guess for me, music is one of those kind of things that once you have a talent like you've got, and once you have the abilities like you have, don't you almost have to put it out there on the road, put it out there on those things
Yeah,
to really like I kind of look at it like, I use for me Marine Corps analogies, but I kind of think about it like a sword. They're honing that item, they're creating that item for you. You've created your craft, but you got to hit the road to put an edge on that thing, or
I
it ain't
think,
shit.
yeah. I mean, I think at a certain point, yeah, it's like you owe it to yourself and to the art. Like if you've got the art that should be heard, like you kind of have an obligation almost to pursue that. And to me, it's like I owe it to music. Is how I look at it. Like music's done so much for me in my life that I feel like I owe it this.
Nah. So you've got. I'm going to assume this is probably one of your top two fans is mentioning to me. As his father, I've always been so impressed by his courage and of course his musical talent and dedication to his craft. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Good
that's a
dad.
great guy.
That
There
gives
you
me
go.
a. So I mean, so you're hitting the road, and you hit the road with big bands.
I mean, but Stitched Up Heart was definitely the biggest. And they're doing great, I think, right now. They were Century Media, I believe. They're awesome. Um, I'm so glad we still keep in touch. Had a lot of great years on the road with them.
So, so what was? See, the road to me. We've all seen the movies. We've all heard the stories. Like we joke around. We were just joking around about the whole Motley Crue, the book, and everything. What was in your mind when? Because how old were you when you hit the road for the first time?
First time, probably 19, 20.
So 19, 20 years old, you're a kid, you're sitting there and you're like, somebody just dangled them keys in front of you and said, "Hey, time to hit the road." What was in
Yeah.
your head? Like, let's go with perception versus reality. Like, what did you think that like this was going to be like before you hit the road?
That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever really thought about it. Um, I thought it'd be exciting as hell, probably. I didn't realize how hard it would be. I don't think anyone ever really does until they do it. But especially being an independent artist that has no legal support, pays for everything as the band, like buys our own gas. We were booking our shows, even with a booking agent, booking the shows ourselves
Oh
on the
wow.
way to the next town sometimes even. And, as happens, getting fucked over by promoters sometimes, you know, and to me, I didn't realize how hard it would be, I guess.
So so now you're out there. Is there anything that happened out there? Because I'm always curious about these road stories. I'm always curious about those. Like, was there anything out there where you went, "Holy shit, this shit's going down right now. This is happening
Oh yeah.
right now."
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I know your dad's listening. I don't know if anybody else that you may not want to know is listening, but we're gonna put it here at the bar right now. Was there anything out there where you were like, some some bitch that just happened?
Oh yeah, man. Countless times. I mean, almost on a daily basis, something happened that you're just like, either I can't believe this is happening in a good way, or I can't believe this is happening in a terrible way.
Can you give us any good stories? Anything you're
Oh
anything anything non-incriminating?
yeah,
Anything
I'm
that
trying to think of the
anything that the
least
statute of
incriminating stuff.
limitations is not up on or is up on, I should say?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I'll give you one. My first tour, we're going to play South by Southwest, the huge
nice.
festival in Texas.
Wow.
So we're driving with. There's 7 guys in the band. I've known them for at most a couple weeks, um, and I've spent like a month just drilling the songs, and we're going, and we're like ready to go, and we're all from LA, so we're guys that like to have a good time, and we're artistic. And before we go, the band leader guy's like, "Hey, we'll have fun, we'll have a good time, but no one bring any contraband in the vehicle." Of course, makes total sense, right? What a logical thing to say.
Yeah.
And so we're driving to through New Mexico to the Arizona border, and it's summer, and one guy driving has a mohawk, the guy next to him has an afro. So you can imagine the border guards are, and we're in a tour van, like a white van. And I should
Like a
preface
painter's
this,
van? Like a painter's
yeah.
van or like
No, it's like a Ford, I think. So
Yeah,
at least
like the big 15-pack van.
yeah, it had 3 rows of seats, I think.
Yep. Yep.
So I should preface this before we go farther with, um, I ended up having to wear a shirt that was a giant beer cut up like a some sort of flapping sombrero in the wind because of a tour game we were playing from Walmart, and so there wasn't enough room for me in the van to sit. So I was wedged between the amplifiers, being the smallest, and the ceiling in the back. So I'm literally laying on top of like half stacks, wedged in between the ceiling. If someone hits the brakes too hard, I fly forward, and I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit. So we're in line for the border check, and 2 guys in the van decide this is the time to unveil their secret and say, "Hey, just so you know, we've got weed in the car." And everyone kind of turns around and goes, "What do you mean? What do you mean you have this in the car? Why would you do that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's fine. It's in the Sprite can." And we're like, "Those are dogs, you know.
Right.
They don't care. What are you thinking?" And it's too late at this point to do anything because we're like 3 cars into the line. And so they take one look at us and they're like, "Pull the van over."
Right.
Pull the van over. We're like, "We're searching you." And so they're like, "Everyone get out of the van." We're pulled over on the side of the highway in the desert sun. I'm wearing this, I'm looking like I'm being smuggled basically in the back of this van in this ridiculous outfit, flapping in the winds. There's like 20 federal marshals, it's like a big operation type thing. And they get the dog out and they start searching the van. Dog, obviously it's a dog, smells it, and they say, "Okay, who's got weed?" And all of us kind of haphazardly look towards the guys that said that, and we're like, "Not me." And these guys are like, "Not us. I don't know what you're talking about."
Not
And
today.
I'm like, "This is my first tour. Haven't even played the first show yet.
19, 20 years old.
Are you kidding me? This is, oh my God, And so
I'm too young for Mexican prison.
exactly. I'm just like, my life is over because I'm young and don't know what's going on really. But anyway, after no one answers anything, they kind of talk amongst themselves, the cops, for a moment, and we're like, they all of a sudden point to one guy in the van. They're like, "You go get your bag out of the car." It's like, okay. He grabs his bag, takes it out. They search it, and they're like, "All right, have a nice day." And we're like, "Okay," and just file into the van, drive away into the sunset, and no one says a word for like half an hour. Just dead silence. And then I think we all just let these dudes have it. We're just like,
yeah, no shit.
And what we think, our theory was that because someone got Popeye's chicken like 20 minutes prior to this, we're thinking that somehow it kind of confused the dog's nose enough, maybe that they weren't sure, so they weren't positive, or maybe they just didn't care because it's just weed.
Right. Like, really, at the most, these guys got a dime bag on them or something stupid that. And we're gonna waste our afternoon digging through this shit when
exactly
people are smuggling. I watched a video the other day. It was a big rig. I don't know if you've seen it yet, and it was a flatbed, and they're pulling just bricks out of the back of it off of one of the that were cabled into it and just pulling shit. You guys having an ounce of weed on you is like,
right.
Go away.
Exactly.
You're annoying me at this point. Keith, not everyone is too young for Mexican prison. You would be sweet meat there. So we make it to our first show. What is that? So you've played small town, you've played back home, kind of shows where, and you correct me if I'm wrong, probably a lot of people you knew in the audience.
Yeah.
You could say like, "Oh, there's my buddies, there's my friends."
Exactly.
So singing to them was like singing to people you may have sang to 100 times.
Right. There's a level of familiarity.
So here you are now. You're at your first show. If you knew one person in the audience, well, damn, you did good. Especially if we're talking South by Southwest. And for those who don't know, this is a monstrous music show. I couldn't even imagine how many side
I think
stages.
80,000 were there. I think that 80,000 people were there the week I think we were there.
And they've always got side stages.
Oh
They've
yeah,
all
there's at any given time there's like 20 bands playing.
Yeah, and be careful who you're watching because some giant artist may turn around and go, "Oh, that's a buddy of mine's band that they, I've known them guys for years," and just decide to go up on stage with them and
Yeah,
start playing. Like that's a big South by Southwest thing, is you don't
yeah, a lot
know.
of random huge artists just decide to perform.
Yeah, let me jump on stage with these guys and hang out for a minute. Fuck it. They look like they're fun to hang out with. Oh, they're gonna do one of my songs. I know that song. Let me get up on stage with them.
Yeah,
Uh,
and amazing musicians there.
That's
Always,
so South by
always amazing.
Southwest is one I'd like to do. I definitely would like to go check that out. I want to go to Austin city limits, and I'm a big fan of Austin.
Favorite place in Texas for me is Austin.
I've never been. We have some friends that just moved there, and they say nothing but good things. And I have another buddy, Scott. They have a show called Talking Beards, and Scott just moved there, and he's like, "Bro, this place is amazing. It's just." I always worry about though, and this is, you're in Portland now. You said a lot of people were moving to Portland, and I want to ask you what that first show was like. But do you ever worry? Um, you have your style of music. You have
Mhm.
what you've created, what you're passionate about. Do you ever worry about any type of corporate tainting or, man, I'm going to get bigger and I'm going to get bigger, and then all of a sudden they're going to want me. Maybe they're going to want me to cut my hair. Maybe they're going to want me to
Yeah,
change my look because then I can fit in a little bit better. What's your give and take with that?
I don't really give much, honestly. Like I left my biggest bands to apart when I was in it, when they got signed, and so that's not just because it's waved in my face. I'm not gonna continue to put up with something I don't want to put up with anymore. And at the end of the day, it's all about like, is the music something I want to continue playing? Do I feel like I'm growing as an artist? Do I feel like I'm growing as a musician, a person? Um, Combined with, is it successful? Of course, at some level. But yeah, there's not a lot of give and take with me. That's kind of why I'm doing this album entirely myself. I'm playing all the instruments except drums, which I can. But
Man, I
everything
know a
else,
drummer.
exactly. I mean, so I refuse to give up control creatively at this point, and I'm really a control freak. I like things done certain ways. I like them to be certain caliber. And at the end of the day, if I do it all myself, I'm the only one I can blame.
And you're also putting out, it's a lot of weight to put on yourself. So,
It is.
so, so I want to go back, and I know I kind of left turned it into that, but so what was it like for you, or what would you say to somebody who's looking to do their first show, or maybe they've got something coming up where they have an opportunity to play in front of people that aren't family and friends? This isn't, like we said, the more foundational stuff, the church or the high school band stuff, and they're going to go out in front of that first crowd. What would you tell them your experience was compared to if you could prepare in another way, or something you could have done to prepare yourself differently? Is there anything like that?
Are you talking about compared to when you play with people in front
Right,
of people you know?
right.
I would say it's easier to play with people you don't know. I enjoy playing to people I don't know a lot because I feel like I don't have to fit any sort of preconceived notion of who they think I am and what they expect.
Is there anything you would have done to prepare for that differently, or anything that you took, even better yet,
Mm.
anything you took from that got you prepared that you're like, yeah, I do that now all the time. That's my
I
thing.
think the biggest thing is just doing it a lot. Every opportunity you can, until you're seasoned, just play every single opportunity you can, as many people in front as you can, because you're never gonna get good at it and really good at it and hone your craft and find out how to be great at it until you do it. And no one else can really do that for you. You just got to start doing it, play for as many people as possible. And then you also find out if you don't love it, maybe you don't like that.
You talking about the live piece to
Yeah, yeah.
play in front of crowds.
Because, most people don't like talking in front of an audience.
So now you kind of hinted at this before we got in, because I want to talk about the new album, which is Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine, and that's theirs with a apostrophe S. There, Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine, which is going to come out on February 17th. Again, we'll have a link to the first song off of that now. We're going to put that in the bio. For those of you that just are joining us now, if you scroll up in the conversation, we put a link to it already in there earlier. Well, Keith's got a good question here because him being a comedian. Have you ever dealt with like musician hecklers? Is that a thing? I don't even know if that's a thing.
There's one quote I've gotten from another musician who was playing at some dive bar in San Diego, and we were talking, my band, just have probably a little drinking a bit and just talking during his performance. And he said, "Well, I'm going to get off the stage now so the kids with the long hair can talk." And so, yeah, I've definitely got that. I thought it was hilarious at the time. So on some level, yes, but I've been pretty lucky in that it's been really minimal. And if I do get like negative feedback from shows, I brought it on myself. Like I did something stupid on stage, or kicked over an amplifier, or threw a pie at my bandmate on stage and missed, which happened. Things like that I brought it on myself.
So you throw a pie at your bandmate, completely missed, and blasted somebody else.
I think it just got all over the stage, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, I've upset many a sound guy in my time.
How do you? So again, I keep saying this. I can't play the radio. So how do you upset your sound guy?
I'll give you the worst time. I was at the House of Blues in Hollywood, and the curtains, about to open, and I just signed an artist deal with Peavey and gotten a brand new amp like the day before. I was so excited, and I love to jump off my amps on stage. I love to jump off things. Love to go crazy. And so I was standing on top of my half stack right before the curtain opened, and I was like, "Oh, let's just jump off just to test it." And I did so, and I had the venue's cab, not my cab, and then I hear it crash, and the whole thing had just fallen completely over. The head fell off the amp, and the curtains, minute to opening. And I look over, and the sound guy is just shooting daggers at me. And I was so lucky. I picked it up. Everything was still working, functional. It was a close call.
Oh, so we're kind of moving this story along here. So you said it. You were in a very successful band, doing well for yourself.
Well, at the time, we weren't crazy successful.
Hold on. Let me fix that for you. As a guy who, I put you on that same level. Like, it drives me nuts when people say, like, I'm a big sports guy. When people are like, that guy played Division III football. Bitch, you didn't play high school.
That's a great point.
You went to a real music school, legit. Somebody wanted to hear you. Other people wanted you to tour with them. Somebody said you were good enough. An artist deal with Peavey is impressive to me. I ain't got no deal with nobody. So I'm out here trying to rock and roll it for myself. So
that's true.
So you were successful. You may not have been Rolling Stones legendary on that level, but that's because that's the 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
Right.
You were doing well. So this band, somebody came along. I don't know who, if you could say who it was, signed this band, and you Peter Gabriel. I'm out. And for those who don't know, Peter Gabriel was in Genesis and walked away to go do his own thing. So you gave this a Peter Gabriel. Tell me about that, man. That's crazy in my mind.
It is. It doesn't logically. Every single day since then, almost, I ask myself, was that a good thing to do? And I always tend to come up with the same answers. Like, I think it was. It's integrity. It was a question of that. Like, I wasn't inspired. I wasn't having fun. And I was writing. I owned a lot of the music from one of their albums. And I felt like I wasn't doing. It didn't make me happy anymore.
Can you say the name of that band?
Yeah, Stitched Up Heart. I love them to death. They're great people. I love them so much, and they're doing awesome.
So you've got a full album. You own most of that music.
Well, it was just one album, the Skeleton Key EP, and but yeah, I own the music for that.
I don't know no music. Still sounds like you're doing pretty good to me.
Well, it was cool, man. It was a great time with them. We were like family, several years we toured around the country.
All right. So you pull the plug on that. Now, is that when you moved to Portland, or is that you're
Mm-mm.
still in LA? What's going on there?
I decided, I was sick of wondering where my next meal was going to come from. Living, I'd come back with like enough money to pay my rent, basically, from tour, and that in itself is a feat with an independent rock band, of course. But after a while, kind of someone like me, I like to feel like I'm somewhat taking care of myself and in control of money. So I think I got a real job with like a food delivery dispatcher at a company, and I'd made like this EP of myself, kind of like a baby EP that I'm doing now, like a smaller version of that, with an awesome producer, Todd Bergman, who's really talented dude. But of course, that didn't really do anything. It was kind of something I just wanted to do for myself. Um, but yeah, so I stayed in LA another 5 years or so.
So we're still in LA. We're there for 5 years. You're doing music. You're kind of making it happen. Where's the? I guess so. I'm curious because it sounds like you were doing good in LA.
Mhm.
Why pack up and move? I mean, and Portland's great because I always think of Portlandia and keep Portland weird and all those kind of things. But why Portland?
Well, at first, I moved up to north of Seattle. I went just to kind of clear my head a bit. I kept my job, and I kind of told them, I was like, look, I'll keep working for you, but I'm going to do it remotely. So they said, okay. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep my job, going to move out for a while. Because LA was, I felt this kind of mental shift and subtle shift in energy out there. Like it always been materialistic because that's part of it, but it always had this artistic soul and this interesting creative energy. But it's kind of turned into less. I stopped feeling that after a while, I guess. And I kind of got depressed, I think, by all that, and so I wanted to change. And then so came up to north of Washington for a bit. Decided when COVID hit, what's the biggest job security out there? I was like, I got dispatch experience. I'm good at it. Let's try to be like a police or medical dispatcher. So tried that. Got an offer for an ambulance company not far from here, and so I've been doing dispatch there.
So you were the singing dispatcher.
Yeah, it's a strange combination. Never thought I'd be dispatching ambulances.
Have you ever sang while dispatching a call? I know that sounds like a
Nope,
stupid ass question.
absolutely not. Those
Would
those I do not like mixing work and art at all.
nothing?
No,
You wouldn't even write a song about your job?
no, not. I mean,
Come
maybe indirectly, but I don't like combining art with my work.
I'm saying you need at least one song.
We'll find a lyric or two that we can tie in.
I mean, it could be. I mean, we could think of this up. I'm telling you, I will come up with something. But that's interesting to me. So you're down in Portland. You've got. I mean, those are between Idaho, LA, Seattle, and Portland. I mean, you honed yourself in Idaho, and then you've got these three major cities that have got very indie vibes. I mean, LA for being materialistic, like you said, I still think LA's got a very indie vibe, in my
Oh, it
opinion,
does.
because
And I don't
people
say materialistic with like a negative
no,
connotation.
but I know what you're saying. I mean, it's the plastic city,
To some degree, yeah.
but it's always still got its heart in everyone comes to LA to try to make it big. If you
Exactly.
everyone thinks they've got the new great thing, you're coming to LA to make it big. So it's got that vibe to it. So
Yeah.
you've really added three major indie cities under your belt to become you. How has that affected your sound?
That's a good question. I think LA really affected the music I write a lot because I was exposed to a lot of genres I never would have been, a lot of artists I never would have been. I was in more pop bands in LA for a while, and so I experimented more with the more electronic sounds, sometimes more indie rock, which I wasn't exposed to growing up in Idaho. So it definitely gave me some more songwriting focus, like less about showing off how fast I can play something, more about okay, does it serve the song? Just how does the song as a whole feel rather than just one part, one instrument being the focus.
So with this new album, and again, folks, February 17th, until there's nothing Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine is coming out. Oligarchy Withers. Album comes out February 17th. It it can't be your Valentine's gift, but it could be your post Valentine's gift.
It could be you forgot. Yeah, if you forget to get someone your
There you
Valentine,
go.
maybe you do that way.
You could be like, I didn't buy this for you yet because it hasn't dropped, but
That
when
can
it does,
perfect.
it could be yours.
That's how I sell it.
And if you look, well, I guarantee you, I'll make you a promise. An oligarch might cuss me out afterwards for this, but I promise you, if you buy one of his albums and then reach out to him on Instagram and say Oligarchy, I bought my girlfriend your album, but I had to cover up the cover of it because Aunt Rose said that you were too sexy for my girlfriend to see. But he will still tell you thank you for buying his album.
Oh, of course. I would
See that?
absolutely, yeah, I would understand. I'd be
I,
like, yeah,
I told you.
burn the cover off if you want, but you bought it. So,
It's
hey,
yours.
got,
Do what the hell
yeah,
you want to do with
do what
it.
you want with it.
So
Exactly.
So what was your process that like you said you had, you're very, this is what I want, this is how I do it, this is what I need out of my music. I always think of the band Yes whenever I think of people that are very strict process people. Like, if for those who don't know, go look back at how Yes makes an album. It might be years to make one album,
Yeah, yeah.
but there's nothing wrong on that album. There's nothing missing on that album. There's not a note misplayed on that album. So for you to be able to create this album, what's your process?
Well, this one, believe it or not, all the guitar and most of the album was written without an amplifier. I would play an unplugged electric Fender Strat, and I would have a lot of it just in my head, and I would write all the parts for every instrument, put them a sample of each part in a voice memo on my phone, the most archaic, like way, least efficient way possible. And then I would catalog everything in an Excel document for every song I've ever written for the last 5, 6 years. I have it listed in an Excel document. Every single instrument has a corresponding cell with examples of this part. Like, for example, okay, here's the bridge. When you forget it inevitably because you keep writing songs, if you want to go back and find it, here's a recorded example of you playing it. And then, so I have this keeping track. And then I'll often write out in sheet music because one, I like the aesthetically how it looks in sheet music.
Two, you can
Also,
actually do it.
yeah, it also keeps you able to do that skill, which I value. And so I'll write out the instruments in sheet music a lot of the time. Like for a guitar solo, especially, the background guitar I'll have sheet music. And the guitar solo I may not write out because that's extremely tedious for me, and I don't have the patience sometimes. But I'll at least make like the tablature, so that anytime any of my songs, I can go back when I inevitably forget, like I said, a certain part and be like, okay, here's exactly how I played it. And sheet music doesn't that's how it's played.
So we've got this thing laid out. I mean, how long did it take you to actually physically record it? I mean, we hear the stories. I've talked about it on here before. You hear, what was it? Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, their first album took a week to record it, which is a legendary album. But I just mentioned, Yes may take years to write an album. So how long did it take you to create Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine?
I'd say it's a collection of songs that I've written within the last 5 years. So you could say it's taken 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's from the spark of each song that takes place to the finished product, which is a mastered, fully recorded, everything, all the bells and whistles song.
Any plans to tour with this?
I would love to if the opportunity arose where I could do it, especially in a way that wasn't starving again, and sleeping on Joe Schmo's floor each night.
A real writer that actually
Yeah,
covers you with things.
Exactly, like a pretty decent, some sort of like, that would be something I would be very interested in.
I need only green M&Ms.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're talking, I want a Turkish coffee at 7 a.m. every single day.
Every day. I need it, and they need to be served with 5 green M&Ms, all faced to look like W's, to remind me that I am Withers.
Now we're talking.
So
That's the goal.
I mean,
That's the
we're not.
goal, is to get to the point where you can just do that.
I mean, we're not asking for a lot. I mean, this is important stuff here. We need to get to that point, and you're going to get to that point when everybody on February 17th picks up a copy of "Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine" by Oligarchy Withers. So here you are. How many years have you been doing this now?
I guess like going for the successful band path in
Yeah,
life.
since
Let's
you
call
moved
it
out of
15.
Idaho,
Let's call it
15 years.
15. No,
Wow.
yeah, about 15 years.
Okay. So what is your advice to the up and coming somebody who the next person that's sitting in Little Falls or Paducah or somewhere in, as the song goes by the Counting Crows, somewhere in middle America? Um, what are you telling that person when they're sitting there going, "Yeah, I'm packing up the hatchback to go to LA." What are you telling that person?
I mean, I think if you really want to grow as a person and you really want to experience life to its fullest, like you gotta put yourself out there sometimes. Like you gotta go for something that may not seem rational, but you kind of have this soul urge to do. And it may not work out, of course, but it'll probably be extremely difficult sometimes, of course, but you'll probably end up with a life that you have endless stories about and that you're so happy to have lived and feel fulfilled.
Isn't that what it's really about, though? A lot of it, I mean, look, honestly, we want to be highly successful, have millions of screaming fans, and all the things. And, your songs are making it into movies, which, as I was telling Oligarchy before this all started, his music to me sounds like if anybody can get the word, if Neil DeMonte's listening, Neil, come find Oligarchy and see if you can get his stuff pushed over to somewhere in LA to the people that are going to make the Anne Rice TV series Chronicles of the Vampires, and like get a song in. I'm saying at least one, because that's the vibe I get.
Perfect.
Your pictures help also, because they're all like
Perfect.
black and white and kind of brooding and kind of like,
Oh yeah,
you
that's
know,
the look.
definitely have the look of like my ice cream fell over and I'm not real happy because it hit the ground.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, yeah,
My ice cream has gone to the ground. What am I going to
perfect.
do now?
That's a great description.
But no, man. I mean, because the other side to it is you seem like you like to have a good time. You seem like a fun guy. You seem like, you know, that your sound is very different than you just talking about it, which is very unique. Like a lot of times people are like, I talk to artists and they're like, if all their music is like dark and brooding, they feel like that they need to put on that full dark and brooding thing. And I
Mm-mm.
don't get that vibe from you. I get that more like, no, I needed to find my way in life. So this is the shit I did. And I had a good time. I got great stories. And I dressed with a giant beer shirt on, like it was a
Yeah.
poncho.
Well, I feel like you limit yourself if I don't like being limited to just that one persona musically or in life. It's I want to be able to play any genre if I want and make it sound authentic. And you can't just, I think, limit yourself in that way.
Artists that you want to play with that you've never like, and don't give me something like if you give me somebody crazy that no one has ever heard of, you're gonna have to explain them. Keep that in
Mm.
mind.
Can we
So
bring Beethoven back to life?
well, that could smell bad. That could smell bad.
I'll,
Oh
I'll, I'll put up with it.
man, I could have played one of my favorite game shows that I created on here with you. That is 3 artists that you can bring back that have passed away, and why would you bring them back, and would they have any impact on today's music? Like, would they legitimately? And like for me, it was Kurt Cobain, Janice Joplin, and God. Now that I'm having Al Green, not Al Green, but Marvin Gaye, excuse me, and Marvin Gaye. Those were my 3, and I've always felt like I could see Kurt Cobain would probably be doing the same thing that Novoselic's doing, advocating for things and being a big in that world. He probably wouldn't be doing music anymore. I just don't feel like he would have cared anymore.
Hmm.
Janis Joplin, I think she would have ended up as like a celebrity judge on things, and they would
I
like
could see
kind of
that, I guess.
Like I could see her like, oh, your voice coach on The Voice is going to be Janice Joplin.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Right. Like I could see
Have
that.
her as a vocal coach.
Right. And then Marvin Gaye, I felt like would be another one that would be, he would be coming out, maybe doing a tours, but like would have been like a big activist voice. Like we would still hear Marvin Gaye's voice, and there would be a lot more babies in the world if Marvin Gaye was alive. A lot more babies. There'd be so many babies. Do you have like? I know I'm kind of throwing this one out there because I was thinking about it.
Good question.
Do you have like? Do you even if you got one that you're thinking of like, yeah, you know what? If this guy was back, you know, and not like I guess Beethoven. I mean,
I think I would bring back Beethoven, man. I'd want to just I'd want to have a conversation with him. I mean, he'd probably have it in German, but I could Google Translate and then eventually figure it out. I think. I just want to talk to him and see what it was like to create music deaf on a professional worldwide level, and you know, just to even 10 minutes just to see what he says to things.
Do you think he would still be relevant though?
Do you know who Beethoven is?
I know who Beethoven is, but I'm saying, but
and
you understand what I mean?
Most people do. And so that's my point is if everyone still knows the first 3 bars of the Fifth Symphony, I think it'd be relevant. I mean, there's a reason we still know his name.
So I have to tell you, so when you said you were from Idaho, I had to reach out to this is weird, 2 weeks, two Saturday shows in a row, 2 people from Idaho, 2 musicians. So I had to reach out to her and verify that she was from there. So have you met Taryn Hatfield yet?
I mean, it's possible.
Taryn is up. She's in Seattle now, but she was from Boise, and she just sent me a message because I asked her. I said, "Where was it from?" She was from Boise, and she said that she went to Twin Falls at least once or twice. It's like 2 hours east of Boise.
Well, yeah, it's like 2 hours southeast, probably. Yeah.
She said, "So look at that." I'm like, I was big in Montana for like a couple of episodes, like hitting the Montana scene, and now I'm gonna be big in Idaho.
Yeah, I mean,
beat that, bitches.
It's a small
big
world.
In Idaho.
It's a small world.
If you're gonna be big in Idaho.
I wish you the best.
Dude, that's a T-shirt.
And endless potatoes.
That's a great T-shirt for you.
Oh no,
that would be such a great T-shirt. Come on now, if you're gonna be big in Idaho, and you could just have a big potato on it.
You make me the shirt, I'll wear it.
I would make that shirt. You're messing with the wrong guy who's figured out how to use Canva.
Oh no. Yeah, all right. You actually make it.
I have Canva skills, not very good ones. Like all my posts with you this week were made on Canva. So mess with me. I will Canva you a T-shirt and send that all shit. Right. And we'll expect on a show, on a stage, you wearing a show that's because I'm going to send you a shirt
I've
after
worn
the show.
Worse. Anyway. I guarantee it. I've worn worse.
Well, you said you wore a beer shirt cut like a poncho or something.
Some wardrobe malfunctions. Yes.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Let's see. So I was playing a sold-out show at the Key Club in Hollywood before it shut down. R.I.P. And it was like this big event. You know, I was real excited to play there, and I would wear skinny jeans, of course, and it's really uncomfortable to wear underwear when you're wearing skinny jeans.
Oh no!
So I wouldn't wear underwear. You go in commando, and I was, had the guitar playing the first song of like a 30-minute set, and I just hear like a rip. Feel like a rip right there in the crotch. And so, I just
breezy in here.
Yeah, I just kind of spent the rest of the show. At a certain point, you just have to be like, well, if they see it, they see it, and it's not going to stop the show. So you might as well pretend like it's not happening. So just kind of tried to keep the guitar relatively positioned strategically, But no one said anything. So
well,
I
mean, that's a double-edged sword, I guess, isn't it? If nobody said anything, it's kind of like,
yeah.
Did you guys not know my junk was hanging out?
Wow, now I got to think about that.
Now that's like a whole thing. Did you not folks? Did you not know my junk was hanging out, or was it like you didn't know my junk was hanging? Like which one was it that was I doing?
I'll never know. I'll never know unless someone's got it filmed. Yeah, the world may never know.
And the world may never know. This is great, brother. You are welcome back anytime. This is such fun. And I love road stories. I do. I've always found that completely fascinating to me.
Oh, I've got endless.
Yeah, like that's why any before we get ready to close the bar up, any more you want to share? I love road stories.
I'm trying to think of a good one. No, I'll think of some, and next time I'll have some for you.
Have me some good. I always just find it completely fascinating to me, just the entire process of living out on the road, and you hear such, people who have been like yourself, just the van down by the river style, trying to make it
Oh yeah.
happen, to you know guys that are like, we trashed hotel rooms and never thought anything of it, and we moved on with our
I
lives. And
I used to stack furniture. That was kind of my thing in hotel rooms. When I left, I would just stack as many pieces of furniture as high as possible. Very immature, strange thing to do, but that was kind of my thing.
but it made you feel like a rock star, didn't it?
I think I just did it because I was bored. Some to some level, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, well, anytime out there in the Portland area, got any shows, any open mics, anything coming up that folks could find you at?
I'll definitely cue
Is
you
there
in
any?
on that.
Nothing,
No, not
nothing
yet.
right now.
No, no,
Okay,
it's mostly just album work right now. I'm just trying to get this thing finished up.
all right. And where all can everybody find the album on February 17th?
Oh, it'll be everywhere. It'll be iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, whatever choice streaming site you decide to use. It should be there.
Can they follow you on Apple right now and pre-order the Apple or
Yeah,
anything?
I mean the single's out on all those sites right now. So yeah, you can go there. I
Oh, you're
don't.
gonna. Oh, you got
Oh,
that clip? Can you?
it's.
You have a clip you can play for me right now?
How would we link it in?
Let's see if I can figure this out. So as
I
two
mean, of
guys,
course, I can send you the file.
well, you
But
could send me the file, but if I do this properly, and I apologize. Normally, I'm much better at this, and I'm not going to give you the why, because it just would be. I can't say people are like, well, this is why I didn't do it. Nah, it'd be just shitty. So here we go, folks. You ready? Here we are. Turn my phone up, which was turned down. Bro, you got a haunting ass voice. You got a
Oh,
haunt.
that's a huge compliment. I mean, that's the goal. I always try to make it something eerie but pretty at the same time, I guess.
It's haunting. It's absolutely haunting. Well, we're gonna get ready to close the bar up there, folks. We got to close the sign up. Oligarchy's got to get back to
Got to pay my tab.
he's got to pay his tab. He's got to dispatch some amazing music out for all of our ears to listen to. You like that? I tied the shit together. You didn't think I could do it. I tied the shit together. Dispatch some great music. I like it. So we're gonna get ready to close the bar up. As always, folks, you're gonna find the podcast version of this tomorrow. Will go out at 7 a.m. So on all your streaming services, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you go on there. I don't care if you're on Spotify, if you're on Stitcher, if you're on Podbean, if you're on Apple, whatever it is. Make sure you go and look up the Above the Bar podcast. You'll see this beautiful mug and that same logo that's up in the corner right now if you're watching the live version. And you can go ahead and subscribe to this. That way, every week, you know what's going on. You know what's happening. As we say, everyone's welcome at the bar. So make sure you find out who's been hanging out with us. If you want to find us on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, they are all the Above the Bar podcast. The only one, even our LinkedIn is the Above the Bar podcast. The only one that's off its mark, and that's because Twitter just is Twitter, is at Above the Bar 4. Once I become rich and famous and have to move to LA to do the podcast and can't do it from my basement any longer, maybe then Twitter will give me a check mark, and then I can be the Above the Bar podcast on Twitter. But as we're getting ready to close this up, make sure you go ahead and you check out and get your copy of Until There's Nothing Left to Imagine by Oligarchy Withers, which we didn't even get into where that comes from. So much we still could talk about.
Oh, this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it's just a tip. And just ask him when his pants ripped. We did that again. See that? Saw that how that happened. So
I did.
All right, brother, man. Do not log off. We got some
Okay.
talking to do
Cool.
after here,
Cool.
some after hours talking.
Perfect.
For everyone who's hanging out with us, thank you so much. We always appreciate you. Oligarchy, you get the guest always gets the last word, so you get the last word. And what is it?
Let's have a nightcap.
All righty, folks.
And thank you, anyone who was watching. We sincerely appreciate it, and thank you to Sean for having me.
All righty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.